Trump's Epstein problem is not going away anytime soon. Look at any mainstream media, Fox News, look at the comments. The MAGA base want blood, they want answers, they want an explanation of why Trump has reneged on his promise. Is this a cover up? And is this the beginning of the end for Trump? Because people want answers and he's not given any. So let's get into the report breaking down what's been going on over the weekend.
All right, so Sadie, you confirmed that FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino is considering leaving the agency after clashing with Attorney General Pam Bondi. It was over her decision to not release additional material about the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. And it's despite Bongino previously amplifying conspiracy theories about deep state bureaucrats covering up Epstein's crimes. But can you explain what's driving this rift at the DOJ and Bondi's about-face over releasing new Epstein documents?
Well, Bongino and FBI Director Kash Patel feel like Bondi mishandled this entire thing from the start by overpromising and under-delivering, by intimating that she had the so-called client list on her desk and then backtracking on that. And then sort of, they're also upset because throughout this process, she sort of put the blame on the FBI and like forced the FBI to go back into its holdings and see what else it had. And so she directed Patel to put, hundreds of agents on this, pulled them off from other duties to pore over these files, only to have it be that they weren't going to release any more information anyway. And so they think that she has mishandled it from the start. She is upset because she is accusing them of leaking negative stories to conservative media. And so it's really an incredible situation because on the one hand, you have Bongino, who has basically all of Trump's base as his support, and Bondi does not have that support. But at the same time, you also have Trump's support for Bondi. So it's anybody's guess what's going to happen next.
Welcome to the self-destructive nature of fascism.
Yeah, and then you have hundreds of people who are deployed to look into this, digging. And I guess my question, Peter, to you is, and it's one that has been suggested, is there something that is being hidden? Is there any way of knowing what would be in these Epstein files? Look, we play the video that is out there, and the president has admitted in the past knowing and being friendly with Jeffrey Epstein. So you have all sorts of conspiracy folks saying, well, maybe there's something about the president to hide. We're not implying that, but...
Well, why not? Why wouldn't you at this point? Like, Occam's razor, what does he have to hide? Like, if there's nothing to hide, if Trump... they said they've been really they kind of ran on this, wasn't it, really? Like, we're going to release the Epstein files. It's going to be a big thing. We're going to get justice for these victims. And then all of a sudden, nothing. Like, how can you conclude anything else but like a cover up or conspiracy? Like, I mean, is it even a conspiracy? It's so blatant. The lies and deflection here.
Is there something in there that someone doesn't want to get out?
Obviously.
Well, this is one of these fascinating conspiracy theories that has adherents on the right and on the left, right? The ones on the right think there's some sort of a conspiracy among the Clintons and the Biden administration for hiding it and all that kind of thing. And then on the left.
But yeah, they've got an incentive to hide it too. There's a reason why. Like, why wouldn't you use that against Trump? Oh no, Bill Clinton and many others.
You're right. There are people saying, aha, it's Trump who's holding back. There must be something there. This is what happens when conspiracy theory.
Well, yeah, because fair enough if Biden was harping on about, we're going to release the Epstein files, we're going to release it all. He didn't do that. Trump did, although not necessarily Trump, but the people around him certainly did. And he's probably quite upset at them right now.
Suddenly go into government, right? It's a whole lot easier to be on a podcast, talking about various theories that may or may not be based on any kind of facts and stirring people up, and then actually going into government where you have the responsibility to uphold laws and to actually deal with facts and information as it exists, rather than as you might imagine that it exists, right? But what's fascinating about this fight too.
But we do know facts about the relationship between Trump and Epstein. He went to his island at least 7 times. They was close friends for 15 years. I mean, we have information on their relationship.
is not just, this is the conspiracy theorists, playing with fire and getting burned. What's also fascinating is the internal dynamics of this. In the first Trump term, what you had were, relatively conventional Republicans, conventional conservatives fighting with the more MAGA conservatives. Here, it's MAGA versus MAGA, right? There are no real conventional Republicans left, or very few anyway, in government under this Trump term. And instead, you have the Kash Patel, Dan Bongino part of the MAGA world, and the Pam Bondi part of the MAGA world. Right now, she doesn't seem to have the support, as Sadie just said, of the hardcore Trump base. But she comes from that same part of the party. And to see them fighting tells you how different this administration is compared to the previous term.
Yeah. And Sadie, we're going to add some.
To an extent, but plenty of people left. Bannon left after 6 months. They went through so many staffers, aides. It's not like all of a sudden, like, oh, no, Trump demands loyalty. That's what fascists and authoritarians demand. So if you don't meet that, cut it with the Epstein files. Yeah, he's going to be gone. Like, and we're going to continue to see this because people aren't going to let this go. And rightly so.
Names here because you've reported on the right-wing influencers, a who's who list, essentially. That includes Megyn Kelly, Laura Loomer, Glenn Beck, Candace Owens. That's just a few of them. They're accusing the administration of a cover-up. And then take a listen to what Steve Bannon had to say about the Epstein case this week.
I'm kind of surprised by that in a way, because obviously they're hedging their bets. The grifters, like, they're thinking about, okay, Trump's dead, like, so we can protect ourselves, like, we can distance ourselves. We know Trump's a disaster, and we can distance ourselves from him being a pedophile. But I kind of, obviously Charlie Kirk's, certain people are going to defend him because they're shameless. But, like, I really do think this is the beginning of the end for Trump. Really? I didn't think it would happen this fucking quick.
They have to go and demand, they have to go to the court and demand and unseal the sealed evidence in Epstein. It starts there. Then bundle everything together you got, sealed and unsealed, and release it all. Or, which I called for yesterday, he should appoint a special prosecutor, special counsel now for the 2020 election and everything after that. And include Russiagate and all this.
So here you have, to Peter's point earlier, you've got both sides here.
Obviously, Bannon's got something out for Trump anyway. Obviously Bannon's gonna, he's a shit stirrer anyway. And good on him in a way. I can't stand the guy, but like, if he can inflame the situation and divide people even more, all the better to get Trump out.
The same figures who once accused deep state bureaucrats in previous administrations of hiding the Epstein files, they are now implicating Trump officials in a cover-up. What are they saying about the administration shutting down the case, and explain why Epstein is so important to the conspiracy-leaning far right?
Well, this is a conspiracy that has loomed large for years surrounding Jeffrey Epstein. And the issue seems to be this suggestion that the government has been covering up information, in particular, this so-called client list, which folks on the right believe would show names of powerful Democrats having been part of Epstein's, sex trafficking crimes. But no evidence had ever surfaced of such a list, that such a list existed, and that was borne out by this very thorough FBI investigation. Much of the material that the agents looked at as part of this review.
And you're just taking that for granted? Again, I sound like a conspiracy theorist. I'm not. But really? You're just assuming that's correct because they said that? Like, well, why now all of a sudden they've been saying it's a list? Like, what's the explanation here?
Had been part of Ghislaine Maxwell, that's Jeffrey Epstein's co-defendant, part of her criminal case. So it had been stuff that they had been poring over for years. They already were familiar with it. At no point in there did they, was there any indication to the people who looked through this material that there was a client list, but they kept pushing, the right kept pushing these unproven claims, and now they are sort of paying the consequences for that.
So, Sadie, you have Dan Bongino aside, who's threatening to potentially, leave his position. Is anyone going to lose their job over this?
It is really hard to say. The White House is not happy about this situation because it is a narrative that they have not been able to control. It is a news cycle that has gotten out of hand for them, no matter how you play it. But we know that Trump has shown a trend in this term of keeping people around. We know that he has been very close with Pam Bondi for years, and she's been a very close ally of his well before this debacle. So it is really an open question of what's going to happen next. I think there are, from all accounts.
Well, yeah, obviously there may not be a list at all. That's the problem, isn't it? When you promise a list for years, which is based on lies, which makes sense. Again, Trump, he lies. And then all of a sudden there's no list. Well, how do you put that kind of can of worms back? You can't. You can't close that can of worms. So even if there's not a list, which surely there's some kind of list, like Jeffrey Epstein was a very connected and powerful man. Like he would have had dirt on people. And there was a whole, series of connections and people. Ghislaine Maxwell is in jail for something. Like, these questions need to be answered.
Bongino is angry, and so is Kash Patel. So it's just anyone's guess what happens next.
I think about what you just said about his relationship with Pam Bondi, and I'm wondering why he didn't choose her first to be Attorney General, why he went with Matt Gaetz at the very beginning. But that's just a question I'm asking, which doesn't need an answer at this point. This is people.
She's just asking questions why Trump, would want to hire a potential alleged pedophile first. Does it maybe he just likes pedophiles? I'm just asking questions. Good on that woman.
Peter, one of the first times that President Trump has faced public criticism from some of the most loyal members of his base. How's he reacting to it?
He didn't like this at all, obviously. This is something that really bothers him. He tried to shut it down during a public appearance this week when somebody dared to ask him about it. He chastised them for a reporter or whoever it was in the press pool who asked him about it. He said, I can't believe you're even asking about that. Why are you still talking about that? Never mind that he, of course, has been a prolific promoter of conspiracy theories all along. He didn't like it when he's on the other side of it. He doesn't like it when the MAGA base is fractured. And there are a couple other examples in recent weeks where he has faced similar troubles managing his far-right coalition, the Iran strike being the most obvious one, right? He found on the MAGA side of things, they didn't want him to be using military force against Iran, whereas a lot of other real hard...
He's the most peaceful president. No one does peace like Trump. He won't kill anybody. No wars. But I will bomb Iran and increase drone strikes and bomb Syria.
Republicans, hardcore Trump supporters did. And he found that complicated in trying to manage as well. So he doesn't want to be talking about this. He wants to talk about almost anything else. He's throwing out all kinds of things this morning on social media to try to change the subject because, in fact, it is hard for him to go to his playbook. Playbook in any circumstance where he is under fire is to find Democrats or rhino, quote, quote, Republicans to blame. And there are no Democrats or rhino Republicans in this fight. It's only MAGA versus MAGA.
Are you hearing anything, Sadie, are you hearing anything about Pam Bondi's thinking in all this?
Well, she I think feels like she is being she was sort of set up to fail, because there was so much expectation that this administration would deliver on these files in particular, and she's just been a vocal supporter of Trump and Trump's a megaphone on Fox News throughout this entire administration, and so to have this kind of blowback, I think she finds it very disappointing, and I don't think it's a good look for her.
Understatement of the year. So tell me below, is this the beginning of the end? Because Trump has weathered a lot. He's weathered 2 impeachments, like sexual, being found liable for sexual abuse. Like the fact that he could do that, like he does get away with a lot of stuff. Is he going to weather this? Can he escape this? Can he convince his MAGA base to shut up? I don't think he can. I'd be interested to know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.